Today we're going to be talking about one of the most common complaints that we see in the clinic, which is irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. So what is IBS? It's when patients present with diarrhea or constipation, usually bloating, gas, and some cramping as well. But nothing is found on investigation, so cameras have been up, all other tests have been done, and nothing has been found. And the reason why doctors find it so difficult to treat is because IBS is caused by several different things. So, for instance, intolerances, microbes, gut bacterial imbalances, diet, stress. When you take several people with IBS, each one may have a different cause. IBS is fixable if you know what the cause is in your particular case, and it is simple to fix, but you have to address the underlying cause. Once you know what the thing is you need to do, you can often have IBS disappear in days. But let's go through what may be causing your symptoms and how to fix it. So the first one I'm going to talk about is intolerances, which is not the same as allergies. For instance, a peanut allergy, so you don't get that full-blown immune reaction, but it does cause an immune reaction nonetheless. So the most common trigger for intolerances is gluten, and any products containing wheat, barley, rye or spelt will contain gluten. So even if you've been told you don't have celiac disease, you could still have an intolerance to gluten. Second most common is dairy. That could be either lactose, which is the sugar in milk, or casein, which is the protein. But other foods such as soya, eggs can also cause problem. So really important to connect the dots to try and understand which foods may be causing problems for you. So one of the things you could do there is an elimination diet, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the links. So the gut ecosystem is looking at the kind of bacteria that grow in your intestine. And we know that there are up to 500 species of bacteria that make up 100 trillion bacterial cells. So that's 10 times more than your own cells. You're only 10% human. And there's got to be the right balance of these bacterial microbes. We often end up seeing the wrong kind of bacteria or yeasts or parasites, and these can cause quite a lot of problems for people. Second thing is, are the bacteria in the right place? So we're not just looking at the type of bacteria, but where they are. So your beneficial bacteria colonize the large intestine, but the small intestine should be sterile. So when there's bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine, so you've got a backflow from the large intestine into the small gut, people often end up with bloating after eating, and the reason for that is that carbohydrates that they eat are fermenting in the small intestine, causing gas and a lot of discomfort. Yeast overgrowth is another one that can cause considerable problems for people with IBS. Everyone has got some growth of yeast, but how much you have is very important. It's like weeds in a garden. If you have just a little bit, the garden is still looking good and healthy. But if they overgrow, obviously that takes over. So yeast overgrowth is fueled by several factors, including acid blockers, antibiotics, birth control pills, and sugar as well. So generally when it comes to IBS, the approach is 3 simple steps. Number 1, eliminate. Number 2, replace. And thirdly, repair. So eliminate first, get rid of the bad stuff. So in this phase you might be using things like antifungals, antibacterials, or antiparasitics to get rid of the microbes that may be causing problems. The second one is to replace, and here we want to put in healthy flora and use things like digestive enzymes to help get the gut just what it needs. And then the final one is repair, where we use the right nutrients to repair the gut itself. Things like glutamine, quercetin, or curcumin. So how do food intolerances form? One of the biggest problems is a condition called leaky gut, where cells in the intestine are usually very, very tightly packed. But inflammation can cause damage to the lining. So the lining begins to lose integrity and suddenly those spaces grow wider, which enables bigger particles of undigested food to be absorbed. And this can cause great strain on the immune system, and so often people end up with additional symptoms such as fatigue, joint pain, rashes, eczema. So that treating the gut in this condition, rather than, for instance, the joint pain, is really important. So another element that plays a big role in IBS is stress. Many of us hold emotions in the stomach and the bowel. And if you notice a correlation between your symptoms and stress, it may be worthwhile looking at breathing techniques. So you can see our video on breathing, or look into techniques such as EFT or some kind of counseling to help shift unhelpful emotions. So where to start? You can do it yourself. You can follow an elimination diet to take the strain of food intolerances away from the gut. Go through the process of repairing and healing the gut. And you can follow us on this channel to get more information on how to do that. Or you can get professional help. Food intolerance testing as well as comprehensive gut testing will tell you exactly where the problems lie and enable you to fix them as soon as possible. And that's about it. Thank you for joining us.